Nintendo finally brings us a new Direct, but what all will be included? We know this is a 30-minute presentation highlighting Nintendo 3DS and Nintendo Switch titles releasing this year, with an emphasis on Mario Tennis Aces, but what else could be there? What's going on, everybody? It's Zach from Switch Force. Gabe is here, and we are predicting the March 2018 Nintendo Direct. If you guys have got predictions of your own, make sure to let us know in the comments down below. But Gabe, let's kick it off with the big kahuna. Will Super Smash Bros. Be present at this presentation?
I think we're going to think not. It feels more like an E3 announcement, and with E3 getting closer and closer, something that big, you probably save for the biggest day in gaming of the year. So I want to lean towards no, although I don't think it's 100% chance that we don't see it. There's a small slither of hope that I have that maybe it comes up, but I really don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like it is. It has enough weight to be in a tentpole spot at E3, so I think it very much is saved for then. It seems like this is going to be a Direct that, in my opinion, covers more of their secondary lineup, if you will, to sort of get out of the way of E3. We discussed before that they kind of needed a Direct to tidy up some things, including the Mario Tennis Aces details and date. I'm sure we'll get a few more dates and maybe a few more details from things like Hyrule Warriors. I also think that there may be a decent third-party focus here. I think we will get some announcements and titles. I don't know if they'll be exclusives, but I definitely think we'll get some dates and some announcements, at the very least, for some multi-platform games coming to Switch.
Two questions when it comes to third-party, because I do believe third-party is present during the Direct. One, Diablo, yes or no?
I don't think it gets a mention here. I think I'm going to go with the thinking that it's too early. Eurogamer seemed to say, hey, it is definitely happening, but Nintendo is not really ready or wanting to talk about it.
Okay. Call of Duty. We see so much about the game now, right? A lot has leaked. GameStop has kind of made it certain that Black Ops 4 is what's happening because of merchandise. We see James Harden out here wearing a Black Ops 4 hat. Do we think that Black Ops gets a mention whatsoever? That would be big.
So that would mean that Nintendo would be the ones to unveil this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That would be huge. Do you see any scenario where that happens?
I feel like that's as a Nintendo fan, that's an amazing move, but I feel like from Call of Duty's larger big picture plans and role in the industry, I think that's not a good look for them. And I think that they definitely save that for a more universal type announcement.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. I was just going to throw it out there just because those games had been mentioned quite a bit. I do think that we get a announcement for a big third-party game that we didn't know about, akin to Dark Souls, something on that level. A game that's pretty beloved, but it's just now coming to Switch and we just didn't know about it. I do think that happens.
Yeah, and I would say I think it's a focus on upcoming games rather than re-releases of something in the vein of Skyrim or Wolfenstein 2. How do you feel about Mario Odyssey DLC? It's been something on our minds. They said that they were not opposed to it. We got Balloon World out of the way, and Vandal Leaks on Twitter, who is one of the people being credited with calling this Direct, says that there will be new premium DLC for Super Mario Odyssey involved in this Direct. He is saying 2 DLC sets in the following months, the first one dropping April 25th, and it includes a brand new Luigi's Mansion-based kingdom.
That'd be really fun. I would hope that Luigi would be playable in something like that instead of just Mario dressed as Luigi. But Odyssey DLC seems like a safe bet, right? We think?
I think that's a very likely thing to occur here. It hasn't happened yet. I don't think that means it isn't happening, and that I was wondering if they'd wait till E3, but maybe that's a bit of a ways off. I think an announcement here and then a release later in the spring, pre-E3, is probably more likely. Luigi's Mansion Kingdom, I'll take it. I think going back into the lore, if you will, of Mario with either a Delfino / Sunshine Kingdom or Luigi's Mansion Kingdom would be a really great move and something that would get people super excited. Now, Vandal Leaks also says that they are expanding the Pokken Tournament DLC to not only introduce Blastoise on March 23rd, but Mew and Celebi as well. He also mentions an unknown Pokemon, and not unknown, but a not a not known Pokemon being shown as an addition to the game at a later date. So there are plans for Pokken being expanded and extended. Do you see that happening?
Sure. I mean, to be frank, I don't understand. I didn't understand the original DLC for Pokken just because from everything we can gather, it's not like selling super well. But of course, the DLC is probably catered to A, the hardcore, and B, trying to get to sell a few more copies. But I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I know that Pokken fans would really appreciate that. I just don't play the game much.
Yeah, I like the idea of looking back at a title and enhancing the value in order to increase sales, or at the very least increase the good feelings for those who did buy. Now, I genuinely think, and I don't know if it's a full-on, new OS or something, but I do think that we get a feature or an update. Nintendo does like to introduce things of that sort. I don't know if it is something like themes, but I feel like we will get some tweak to the system here. It's obviously not going to be online related. That's September. But whether it's an app or whether it's a new addition to the UI, I feel like there will be some enhancement to the system itself.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Nintendo hasn't been doing that much lately in their directs. They tend to focus on games, but I think that would be really, really awesome. The one thing that we do know we're getting for sure is a date for Aces, right? They made it a point to say, hey, more details on Mario Party Aces. And other than just like, hey, single player stuff and a little bit more gameplay being shown, a date is all but certain. Do you have a prediction for when the date's going to be? At least a month.
I definitely think it is coming in April. Although I could see it being late May, having Donkey Kong be early May and this be late May. Sadly, if I had to guess, I think maybe they do shift it towards late May as opposed to April. But again, we have Dark Souls there, and I know that's not a Nintendo done title, but maybe they want to clear the way since that was a big announcement for them. I'm going to go and say that this game actually comes out April 13th. Friday, April 13th, about a month after Kirby, still a couple weeks before DKC Tropical Freeze. That would be a great spot. Online is something I think needs to be announced for Tennis Aces. I'm really hopeful for that. And a deeper dive into this campaign. What is Camelot cooking when it comes to single player? Those are the two main things outside of a date that I really want to see.
How much do you want to see a Fire Emblem game? Because there has been reference to that potentially being announced. Where you said Vandal also mentioned.
Vandal Leaks came out and said that Fire Emblem and the subtitle they're saying is Elegy for the Brave debuts on Nintendo Switch this summer. CG trailer shown, releasing later this summer. They're now saying that Elegy for the Brave may be an old or work in progress name, but Vandal is confident that the game's theme revolves around soldiers passing away. Now, regardless of Vandal Leaks saying this or not, I do very much feel that Fire Emblem is a game that gets announced pre or post E3. I do not think it is an E3 game, so this would be a prime spot to unleash that upon us. A summer date would be really awesome, but maybe this sort of takes an August spot, similar to how Mario Plus Rabbids delivered us some strategy switcherooing in August of 2017.
I hope that Fire Emblem gets announced, because I honestly can't think of anything else that is like feasible and not like a total surprise that would get me more excited than Fire Emblem. I think I'm really going to jump into the franchise with this game, hopefully, and try to really get into it. And just like the themes behind it, if that's the title, it's a Fire Emblem-y sounding title. So I'm not saying that like the tweets are right or whatever, but I could see Fire Emblem be announced tomorrow.
I really feel like that is going to be the big title outside of Mario Tennis Aces that everything sort of hovers around when it comes to this direct. They also mentioned 3DS, and I'm sure we'll get some new stuff there. I wouldn't be surprised to see another Detective Pikachu mentioning. I think they need to highlight something that's coming later to sort of keep that train a-rolling, but I do feel like Fire Emblem, if I had to put my chips in some basket, I would put them in the Fire Emblem basket. I really feel like that will be a focal point for this 30-minute show. Let's just touch on a couple other games that could be potentially shown and just sort of give our hot take. Animal Crossing.
I do not think that gets talked about tomorrow.
Me neither. Yoshi.
Yeah, do you think we get a name? A name
I feel like
and a
it'd be
name
very,
and a date? Come on.
well, it would be very odd if Yoshi was leapfrogged for like a new announcement, right? Like at some point, maybe they wanted to keep Yoshi and Kirby a little bit separate, so maybe they still decide to do that. They seem to view Yoshi very near and dear to their heart, so perhaps it is saved for E3. I don't know that we get a date, but I could see a new trailer. We haven't really seen a whole lot. They've been consistently unveiling Kirby footage throughout the months. Yoshi has stayed very bare minimum. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say Yoshi is pushed back to E3.
So you think Yoshi gets no mention tomorrow?
I just feel like something's, and I don't know what it is. I'm not saying the game's in trouble, but they just have sort of, it hasn't been really hyped, and I wonder if either there's more to the game than we know, or it really is a much later date than we're predicting. And I think that if you're going to really try and, we don't want a Kirby Star Allies mention, I think there might be like, hey, coming next week, Kirby Star Allies, but please don't take too much of our 30 minutes. But I think if you're looking to sell Hyrule Warriors, Donkey Kong, Mario Tennis Aces, the proposed Fire Emblem, I don't know that you also bring Yoshi into that mix, alongside third party and maybe even an indie date. I do think Hollow Knight sees a quick blip during the Direct.
Yeah, I think that if any indie is going to get a blip, it would be Hollow Knight. There was a listing that said that it's coming like this month, so Hollow Knight this month probably means Nintendo should like talk about it a little bit. That seems like just the type of game that does really well on eShop for them.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for that game, as it's one that I dabbled in on PC, but have specifically held out for due to this Switch version.
I think, would it be okay to just temper people's expectations a little bit, right? And let's just go ahead and say there's going to be no mention of Pokemon, probably no mention of Metroid. Things like that I don't think we should expect whatsoever. But I just want to say it just because we know how fast and how hard this hype train rolls for a lot of people.
Just to continue a couple more games here, do we think that Pikmin gets any mention?
No.
I would agree. One more that I do want to point out here, and this was also mentioned by Vandal Leaks, and I could see it definitely having a spot, is Travis Strikes Again, giving us more of a gameplay trailer. Vandal says it's going to be highlighting single Joy-Con co-op gameplay with no date. Travis, is he going to strike at this Direct, Gabe?
Yes, right? They mentioned the game was coming this year, and then since then they've gone pretty quiet. And, I don't think that that's big enough to be an E3 thing. So, yeah, this makes sense for this Direct. I honestly hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I can see it happening.
So, to recap, no Smash saving for E3, an extreme emphasis on upcoming titles, including Mario Tennis Aces. I think we definitely get a little Hyrule Warriors. Odyssey DLC is one that I think appears in Fire Emblem, and if that was the quartet that we come upon tomorrow, Mario Tennis Aces details, Hyrule details, Odyssey DLC, and Fire Emblem, that would be a pretty darn great show.
Yeah. You think that's enough? I mean, there's obviously going to be a couple of surprises because it's impossible to predict everything. I worry. How much time do you think they dedicate to 3DS? Because they're making that a point.
Not a lot. I think the more curious thing will be how much time do they dedicate to Mario Tennis Aces? How big of plans do they have for this game? From the outside, it seems like, okay, maybe that's more of a secondary, tertiary title, but do they spend 7 minutes on this? Do they give it sort of the treatment that ARMS and Splatoon 2 previously received? Or is it a quicker mention of bullet points? I frankly feel like it's going to get quite a highlight, as it is a Mario title and as it is a brand new title, and something that they are going to utilize to anchor the second quarter as we lead into E3. Fire Emblem is not going to hit magically in April or May. The Odyssey DLC is definitely big, but it's not something new that you can go pick up on store shelves or in the eShop. Therefore, I bet we get quite a bit of Mario Tennis Aces. 3DS, it depends what's announced, right? Do they go big and give us something really notable? I could see that earning a spot. If not, if it's just announcements, I think they're peppered in. I think that they just kind of fly through them. But, a bigger 3DS title is not out of the realm of the possibility. Nintendo still is very much committed to that system, and it still does incredibly well for them. What do you think will do well for Nintendo tomorrow? Let us know your take in the comments down below. Very excited for this show. We'll have full coverage as soon as it hits. Make sure to stay tuned for that and check out our Discord, link in the description below, if you want to talk deeper about tomorrow's Direct and all the inevitable announcements. Also, we will have a live show of our own afterwards, so stay tuned to the channel for that, where you can ask us questions, give your feedback, and discuss this Direct after it all happens and goes down on Thursday the 8th at 5 p.m. Eastern. Until that time, everybody, thanks so much for watching. Fantastic day. We love you. Switch Force out.